Hello, Mark again with Boat Wisconsin. We got a 2007 Tahoe in the shop today. Owner was having some trouble with once the boat was warmed up, it wouldn't idle. Brought it in, we did some poking around, and long story short, we found it needed a new enrichment valve. So the next few minutes I'll go over what that is, how it works, where it's located, and how to replace it. So here's what we're working on today. It's a 2007 4.3 liter Mercruiser. You can see on the top there it says Turn Key Start. What that basically is that's the model carburetor. This carburetor does not have a choke. Instead it uses the enrichment module. And I'll explain how that works coming up. So bear with me here. Hardest thing about these videos is filming and doing the work at the same time, but I'm going to start here by taking off the air cleaner. I've had this on and off many times over the last few days. This part was on back order, so as we were waiting for the new part, the owner said go ahead and do a full tune-up. So we did cap, rotor, plugs, wires, and a fuel filter. And also threw a new fuel pump on it. He hasn't done much maintenance in the last 2 years, so we thought now's the time, just go over everything, make sure it's running good for the rest of the year. So I got that off. Here's our old module. It slides right into the carburetor. There's a little metal bracket on the back that holds it in there, and it plugs in. It is electronic. One's a ground wire, the other one is a power wire from the oil pressure sensor. So once you start turning the key and the engine senses pressure, it'll start activating this valve. I'm trying to use a mirror here to get a better view of what's going on. Here's the screw on top, screw on the bottom, and then this bracket is only a half a circle. Once you slide this module into the carburetor, that bracket pinches it in there so it can't fall out. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and unplug it, remove them 2 screws, and pull it out. So here's the valve after it's been removed. Not much to it. I'll pop this little metal bracket off so you can see what that looks like. That's what holds it in. There's a little rubber O-ring around there to seal it once you push it in. And next to it we have our new one. Now again, I'm filming with a mirror, but this is where it goes into the carburetor. See my 2 screw holes, top and bottom. That brass fitting goes into that hole. And then there's a little porthole here. Now the way I'm 100% sure this is the problem, I did take this off when we were waiting for new parts. Took it apart, cleaned it, made sure there's no debris inside this cavity here, sprayed some carb cleaner in there, sprayed carb cleaner through that porthole. After I cleaned the old one, I put it back on and our problem went away. But just to be safe, we decided to go with the new unit. We can always keep this one as a spare, but better safe than sorry. So a quick rundown of how this valve works. Again, it's plugged in, power and ground, the power from the oil pressure sensor. So basically, when your engine is cold and you go to start it, this is open here. It allows extra fuel to pass through this opening into that porthole in the carburetor we showed you. Now, as the engine warms up, there's a little 12 volt, we'll call it a heater inside of here. As it warms up, there's a piston inside that'll push this black sleeve out. It's very difficult to pull, but this will push out. And as that's pushing out, this brass fitting will in turn close that gap and it'll stop feeding more fuel into the engine. So it's an enrichment valve, and basically it's enriching the fuel mixture to a cold engine. As it warms up, it stops the enrichment process and lets the boat run as normal. Now what was happening with this one, it was working, but it wasn't pushing this arm out quite far enough. So even once the boat was warm, that was still open a little bit, and at idle it was giving the engine too much fuel and choking it out, basically flooding it. So it would restart every time. You'd have to give it about half throttle to clear out the excess fuel. It would run perfect at, say, 1500 RPMs, drop it back down to idle, and it would instantly flood again. Come back the next morning when everything's cold, it would run perfect, and same process. So just a quick shot here. There's our new valve installed, plugged in. Like I said, we did a full tune-up on here, so I'm going to put everything back together, pull it outside, throw it on the earmuffs, and see how she runs. Got it on earmuffs, fired it up. I don't know if you can hear in the video, there is a sucking noise. That is normal. They say within 8 to 10 minutes that sucking noise will go away. That is the valve closing. So we'll check back in about 8 minutes and we'll see if we can hear the difference. We're at about 4 minutes now. Temperature's starting to come up. We're idling right around 650. I have not touched the throttle, and the hissing noise is starting to go away. Again, I don't know if you could hear it in the last section of the video, but the hissing has pretty much stopped. It's only been 4.5 or 5 minutes at the most. Now we're just running at a normal fuel air mixture, no enrichment going on. Our final test is we're just going to shut it off and make sure it fires right back up. So just to be certain, I pulled the boat out, fired it up. Let the enrichment valve run its cycle, turn the boat off again, fired right back up. That wasn't the case when I got here. I'm just going to let it idle for 15 or 20 minutes in the driveway, make sure it doesn't flood itself out again. It seems to be running as good as new. So I hope my video helped. It's not a very common problem, but obviously it does happen. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.